Just hang on one second. We're working through a couple of technical things at our new facility. All right. Good morning. Welcome. Looks like everybody has made it to the new facility. I definitely want to thank you for, again, working on the logistics, and we're still working through a few, a few of the bugs, but I think we're up and operational. And so just a couple of logistical items that, for those who don't know, the restrooms are around the corner to your left, back towards that side of the building. Obviously, as exits both behind us, to the side and to the rear. The bar is not open until Friday afternoon, when beer is half price and dinner is $10. And they have actually encouraged all of us to come anytime. So I want to do that. So with that, let's go ahead and stand and Pledge of Allegiance. Flag is off right behind Angel. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, as always, Carrie is sending around the sign-in sheet, so be sure if you're a board member that you sign in so you get credit for being here and potentially win the bonus raffle at the end of the year. All right, we're going to come up with some kind of door prize we'll get for you. All right, everybody board members should all have a copy of the agenda sent to them. There's also copies available at the back of the room. Any comments, adjustments on the agenda for today's meeting? Okay, hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of approving the agenda signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Excellent, thank you. Item 5, you should also have received a copy of the minutes from the June 19th meeting, last month's meeting. Any comments or edits on last month's meeting minutes? All right, hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of approving as presented signify by saying aye. Any opposition? None seen or heard. Minutes approved as presented. Thank you. We have no new business items to present for this meeting. We do have several old business items. Want to first turn it over to Paul Penn, item 7A, our Futuring Strategic Planning Group. And I believe Paul is online. And Paul, we give you the floor.
Good morning, everyone.
Hang on one second, Paul. Looks like we have an audio issue. Hang on.
Standing by to stand by.
Speak now, Paul.
No. Oh. I would be there in person. However, I came back from Europe, and like many people, I brought COVID with me. I tested negative Monday and Tuesday, but I decided...
Hang on one second, Paul. We're gonna hang on one second. One more time, Paul. Give it a try.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Hugh, are we good?
What's happening? Does I have mics here now?
Ken? Are we good? Are we good?
Now.
Now? Okay. So again, I came back from Europe with COVID, so I tested negative yesterday and the day before, but decided not to share the joy with you. Our future group did meet yesterday, and want to say that Elizabeth, Tamara, Dorothy, and Steve, really it's been a joy to work with on this. essentially, we've gotten to as far as we can. We've established or written up the description of the current positions or the other potential positions, modified some of the existing ones, and looked at several org charts. But the decisions really need to be made by the e-board and the overall board. So following this meeting, I'll be forwarding the information and documents that we've developed for the e-board either to consider at the next meeting or possibly just a special session on that, because I know their agenda is full. And once that is done, hopefully to present that to the full board for their discussion and deliberation, and we will take it from there. Again, there are a couple of issues. But I think we have enough for the e-board to tackle and make some determinations and bring it to the full board in the near future. That's my end of report. Open for any questions.
For everyone here in the room, I know it probably may not have been able to hear Paul. So maybe what I'll do is just quickly summarize. And I know there's members of the group that are here as well, but at the end of the day, the group has been meeting. In particular, Steve Willis has come up with a lot of work on sort of duty statements and responsibilities that the group's been looking at, and essentially they're prepared to come to the executive board with a presentation.
Yeah, yes, and since obviously the audio has got some difficulty, again, Dorothy, Elizabeth, Tamara, and Steve are there to answer any questions they might have.
On. Microphones turned on. Paul, can you hear?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me, Paul?
Try again.
It will. It will work. How
Okay.
about now, Paul?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, no, we have an internal issue here. So what again, I just summarized your presentation, and we'll have to defer, I think, feedback to you until we get this resolved. But at the end of the day, the takeaway was that the Futuring group has prepared some documentation, some materials on duties, and some thoughts to bring to the e-board. So we will calendar an in-depth discussion at e-board and have the Futuring group present and then bring some things back here to the full board for discussion and thought based on what we hear from the group. Chris.
Very good.
Yeah, I just it's just a question on our agenda. It's got the word futuring, and I was just wondering what that means.
Sorry, it's just the idea of where we're going in the future. Always better to be able to determine or have an influence on where we're going rather than external forces determining where we are.
So we're
just a nice name.
So we're going forward, not backwards.
We're going forward, not backwards. That's right. As much as possible so we can be masters of our own fate.
Thank you, and again, apologies. We will work through it. All right. So the next several presentations are here in the room. So we will, and for folks online, I'll try. I can hear you, and I'll try to. If you have questions, you can either verbalize those, and I'll repeat them, or you can certainly put them in the chat, and I'll read them. So we'll make sure we capture that. But so next up, item 7B is the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, and I know we've got numerous, several folks in the room that have been very engaged in bringing all that together, and I know they've been chatting. But I'll start with Tamara, Fire Safety Council perspective.
Okay, well, so kind of looking at what's happened in the last month, we had 3 days of site visits with Jensen Hughes, the consulting firm that we're working with on the CWPP, and we drove all over the county. It was pretty crazy. There were 25 out of 32 associate fire safe councils participated in the site tour. We had representatives from a ton of different agencies, the Forest Service, BLM, EID, the RCD, El Dorado County Fire, CAL FIRE, El Dorado Hills Fire, Garden Valley Fire, Pioneer Fire, Cameron Park Fire, and OES. And I might have forgotten some, but you get the gist. It was pretty wonderful how many agencies and how many fire safe councils participated. The first day we were along the Highway 50 corridor. Second day we did North County, and then third day we did South County. And Tanya might have some stats on how many miles we drove, but it was crazy. There was a lot of Dramamine involved. Yeah. So we looked at areas of previous fuels treatment, areas for planned fuels treatment that are, on the books now, and then areas of either proposed or desired fuels treatments. We looked at where past treatments were helpful for Caldor fire fighting. And then we also looked at areas of concern. So one way in, one way out neighborhoods, the Weber Creek and the Martinez Creek drainages. They also looked at typical structures in various neighborhoods. So kind of looking at the built environment, and then of course, vegetation types and growth patterns. So it was really, really comprehensive. I'm excited to see what the consultants come back with from those days. The next steps are, let me see. We have our monthly CWPP steering committee meeting tomorrow. We've received a draft engagement plan from the consultants, but we'll be looking at that and refining it. It needs a little bit of work at that meeting tomorrow. And then we'll work with the fire safe councils to get the word out about the public survey, which we should be getting by the end of July, and then also the community meetings. We're looking at sometime probably mid-September for the community meetings, although the dates are not exactly set. We're hoping to set them by tomorrow at that meeting. And then the fire safe councils and OWOPR will work together on an outreach strategy. And we'd love participation from anyone from the fire safe councils who would like to help put together what the actual outreach strategy will be at the fire safe council level. And I'm looking over here, Alice. And so we were hoping to have that by the meeting today. Unfortunately, we don't. So we'll have to put that out by email between now and the next meeting. And then probably phone calls and coordination with the individual fire safe councils to really do kind of an all-court press on getting people to these meetings and getting people to answer the surveys. I think that's all I have.
Well, and so I'm going to turn it to either to Tom and or Tanya. I know that a ton of work Tanya did reaching out to all of you to try to put that together. Her first week on the job over there, and she got to meet a lot of you firsthand. But Tom, from the OWOPR's perspective.
Yeah, so just to echo what Tamara shared, huge amount of participation. I think it was a really successful, jam-packed 3 days of a site visit. Every day we debriefed with the consultant, and I think they were just really, in general, blown away with the amount of participation. Doesn't seem like they've had that from any other counties or agencies that they've done a CWPP for. So really applaud all the participation from fire safe councils and all of the agencies that were able to join us on the site visit. Like Ken said, Tanya dove right into that, helping get everything set up, working with Tamara and contacting all the associate councils, getting everything squared away. In terms of next steps, one other thing that they're working on and we'll review tomorrow is the project website. So that should be going live hopefully by the end of the month. And then that we'll share information on that, put out possibly a social media post or some sort of a release to guide people to that website. And then one other thing from the site visits, So encouraging contact with the consultant for anything that was missed, and really just looking to have that open dialogue back and forth. And please feel free to reach out to our office for that, or directly to the consultant, and we'll kind of figure that whole process out as we go. But want to ensure that that communication is there throughout the duration of the project. So as Tamara mentioned, also working on that engagement strategy. Apologies that that's not ready for today to fully dive into, but we will be in contact to set up next steps and make sure that goes out pretty smoothly. So.
Do you have anything else to add?
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you both. And just a reminder that they're both Tom, Tanya, and Tamara are hosting the monthly informal CWPP meeting this afternoon at 1 o'clock right here. So please come back after lunch or stay if you will. And also I'm going to say it several times so we know, but Alice will be hosting a brown bag lunch at noon today right here to kind of start that dialogue of folks, again, networking amongst fire safe councils. And she can talk more about that later, but just know we have a jam-packed day of lots of things to do while we're here. So thank you both, Tamara, Tom, and Tanya, for the continued engagement on the plan. So with that, item 8A, Chair's report. I right now have nothing additional to add on. I may reserve the right to come back later if I think of something as we have dialogue today. But with that, I will turn it over to Dorothy for the Vice Chair's report.
Well, thank you and good morning. Just wanted, first, as a reminder that the vice chair's position is the representative for our fire safe councils at OWOPR meetings. So that we are represented, we have a representative, not only Ken and Janet are there, but my position is coming in as representing all of our fire safe councils. The second thing is we've been working on a website. We're in the process of getting quotes. Thank you very much to Paul Gilchrist and to Lester has been helping me in this process. We're finding our website is a little more challenging as an FYI, because it's not just there's the website, then there's the piece that we want to make sure that we add in for fire safe councils, hopefully a backdoor password so we can have information and be posting. And then there's the project data management portion, which is our 3 programs, which is what Jessica's working with. And right now, obviously, we've had quite a few glitches going on and not as good of technical support as what we would help. We're also looking down the line, hopefully getting a grant to add to the programs an ArcGIS program. So just expanding the capabilities within the application process. So it's kind of 3-sided. So as we're getting quotes, it wasn't as simple as, why did I raise my hand to take this project on, sort of a thing. So hopefully we'll be bringing back some financial proposals and informational proposals to the e-board in August, and hopefully then back to the general board in August to look at what can we do to get a more efficient. The biggest piece is currently our website is not ADA compliant. And the other piece is there's no terms and conditions in there. The thing with the ADA compliancy, not a lot of groups, but some groups out in the universe look for websites that are not ADA compliant and then like to go ahead and do lawsuits against them. Most of them are not targeted to the large corporations. They look for smaller entities, websites like ours, and figure that, well, they don't have the money to be able to fight the lawsuit. So therefore, they'll probably go ahead and pay for the non-compliant. So that's one thing we're really looking at. We need to make sure that we're ADA compliant currently and in the future. So more information to come in August. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Chris.
So I'm webmaster for something like what you're talking about, Conference California Historical Society.
Mhm.
It's got a website, it's got a database, and it's got communications so that it's all integrated.
Okay.
And so when it doesn't work and it goes down, you got tech support that's there working on it. And there's a lot of communication back and forth to let us know what's going on in case there's a problem.
Mhm.
It's constantly under attack, meaning there are people out there that's their life is that they attack these for some
Right.
reason. So I just wanted to let you know, I'm also interested in what we do. And if there's anything I can do to help you, I would help you.
Thank you all.
Just in terms of conversing. Yeah, it's a hard, as Ken knows, it's hard to keep these things together. And the fact that we just spent so much time on the one we have and it wasn't what we really needed. I look forward to you, Dorothy, and what you're working on.
Well, thank you, and I'll reach out to you after then, and
Yeah.
we can touch bases.
No
How's that?
problem.
Thank you, Chris. Yes.
Yeah, we want to make sure everybody can hear your question. There you go.
Why do we need to be ADA compliant?
That is a really good question. It looks that all state, federal, and county websites informationally have to be compliant by law. I think it's 2026. So as the laws are changing, just, you know, whoever's creating this, that we need to be ADA compliant. So why we also need our website to be ADA compliant is so that if we go and apply for grants, our website and our information needs to be ADA compliant. So if we don't come up to compliancy, we're not even in the running to apply. All those little pieces we
Well, and
didn't know.
I also think
And-
that it's the right thing to do. We,
Yeah.
the community base that we work with, obviously are, and, it's just the right thing to do. We want to
Right.
reach our community, and we're trying to make sure we get there. And this is one thing that's just,
It is.
right. And so it's just an opportunity to take care of all of this and get it cleaned up for us. So you're good, Alice. Jessica, did you have a comment? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Perfect. So any, so no,
So-
and just to thank you, I appreciate the group looking at that to really try to get us on the right track to set that up.
Ken?
Okay, next up, Secretary's report, Angel.
Hi, everyone. I would like to thank Karen Pullen for meeting with me for a couple of hours, sharing with me my responsibilities and duties as secretary. The first one that I would like to report on at this time is insurance. I have successfully received 3 requests for insurance, and they went very smoothly because Karen turned over everything that I needed to know. The insurance forms that are on our website, I would encourage you to use 18 and 19. They're both fillable forms, so you don't have to print it and write it out. You can just fill in the blanks and save it and send it to secretary at edcfiresafe.onmicrosoft.com. Anyway, it's very similar to the one at the top of your agenda. Instead of board, it would be secretary. And I will process it. It looks like it takes about 2 days. So 2 days is like an emergency. I would try and give me at least a week to process those certificates. And thank you, Carrie, for making those forms fillable. That's all I have for today. Now,
I have a quick question. I'm sorry, I should know this, but can you remind me, when we have a fire safe council meeting at a person's home, do we need to let you know and get insurance for that?
if they would like to be insured, yes.
Okay.
So if you're having a meeting at my house, I would like to be insured, then you would get a form with my name and my address. And I would, the insurance company will do that.
That's excellent. All right, any other questions for Karen? Yep.
That's a good question, because I have that issue happen in Texas Hill. There are two houses where we have our meetings. We rotate. And I guess the question now is, do I have to do one each time I have one, or can I do one that for the entire year?
I would like you to do one for the entire year.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, so an extension of Hugh's question, because we have in Sierra Springs, we have our mandatory bi-yearly inspections. So we have a group of evaluators go out, and we were told that we're covered. So my question is, do we have to renew yearly with the El Dorado Council?
Every year, the insurance expires on the 29th of September. So
okay.
I would say like October 1st, whatever you know you're going to do for the following cycle, you would send that to me and then I would get the certificate for it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Karen? And this is good. And sounds like maybe we can do a follow-up, maybe a little insurance primer for everybody for the year. And so folks know what they need to do to get us set up. All right. And for some reason, I always gloss over this, or I'm tempted to, but the treasurer's report is next. So, oh, Janet.
It's that bean counter thing. So the treasurer's report went out to everyone. Nothing super new or exciting with this one. This is through month 11. As you are aware, the way our cycle works, the June expenditures aren't paid until into July. So this report really covers kind of a July through July thing. The next report will have a final for the 23-24 fiscal year and a starting for the 24-25 fiscal year based on the budget that you all approved 2 months ago. Any questions on the treasurer's report? And then I'll go into the P&Ls. Seeing none, every chair and treasurer got an email from me late last month, and my apologies for it being so late. For the P&Ls, the profit and loss statements, which we use on our tax return to document all of the associate council activities into our taxes so that you're not doing individual tax returns. I've gotten many of them back. I've got questions that I have not got responses back out to folks yet, so don't stress about that. I will be getting back to you. They're due at the end of the month. If you have questions, please send them to me. But people are getting them back, and thank you to everybody who's already returned them. And with that, end of my report.
Any questions for Janet? Okay, we have a treasurer's report to approve. Are all those in favor of approving the treasurer's report as presented by Janet, signify by saying aye. Any opposition? Hearing and seeing none, treasurer's report approved. Thank you.
David's on, right?
I don't see him. So excellent. Thank you, Janet. Okay, so we will start into partners reports. And again, I apologize if someone is presenting online. We'll do our best to articulate yeah, I think that would be great. So for the folks online and here in the room, we'll take a 5-minute pause. We will come back online. We'll come back on at 10:10. So short break while we work on the technical difficulties. So hang with us.
Oh, David's here, Ken. Bye-bye.
Paul, anybody online, can you speak up and see if we can hear you?
No. Can you hear me now?
Can't hear you, Paul. Thank you. Stand by.
Standing by,
Can you hear
standby.
Dave? Ken, can you hear David?
All right, Paul, give us one more try. If anyone's online, willing to see if you hear us.
Ken, can you hear me?
Yes, we got you now. Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, let's go ahead and reconvene. I think we got our little audio issue fixed for now. All right, everybody can grab their seats again. All right. All right, we'll start off with our partners reports. I don't see anyone in the room or online from BLM. Let me know if I'm missing you. Okay. I definitely know CAL FIRE is here. There's Jeff. Good morning.
Good morning. A couple things to go over, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about the fires that we had here in the county over the last month. So CAL FIRE started our fuels treatment effectiveness reporting within this last month. So what that is a program where if we get an ignition within a quarter mile of a treatment area that we've recorded, we go through and we'll see if that was effective in either stopping the fire or assisting the firefighters with making access, whatever that may be. We run a report on that, and or at the end it'll go out to Sacramento, and they can potentially do a story on it. We're calling them also like success stories for the fuels treatment. So it's coming from the legislature, spends a lot of money on all these grants and crews and everything being out there, and they want to make sure that they're actually getting some bang for their buck. So we're working on that piece right there. Defensible space has been really successful this year from the CAL FIRE standpoint. We're at almost 5,000 inspections this year, which is really good. We're 1,000 ahead from the previous year last month, and we're getting close to 1,500. So those crews are out there working really hard, and it's really helpful that we got a full staff this year. And then we're just working on some other planning efforts and those types of things in the county. So anyway, as you guys know, we had 2 significant fires in the county over the last month, the Moccasin and the Pay. They had federal, state, local response. All those crews worked together. It was actually very successful. We kept them, within the first operational period. So it was just it was able to just keep it where there. We didn't have to go on to the next day and that type of thing. Obviously, we had crews out there doing mop up and that type of thing. So hot and dry weather, and we had some pretty significant resistance to control on some of these grass fuel models, even where there was some spotting, those types of things. So the Moccasin fire, that fire, it was in kind of some difficult terrain, and the probably the biggest issue that we had there was really tight access. And so those roads there, they're hardly able to get fire engines down. It took a little bit of coordination on who's coming up, who's coming down, doing those kind of things. So that's, obviously those areas were planned and they were approved prior to these modern planning efforts that are in place now, but it's just something to be aware of, as we're kind of working our way in and out. Addressing was also a bit of an issue there. So why addressing is important to us is not just so that, we know exactly where your house is during an emergency, but, when we're working a fire, you want to put crews in specific areas. And if you give them addresses, then we can actually pinpoint where they're at, or they can report where their location is, give you a report on fire activity, that type of thing. So addressing is actually super important. It's something we look at for defensible space. So if you guys are out talking with your fire safe councils, just stress the importance of addressing. And then the other piece on the Moccasin fires, we had defensible space played actually a pretty big role. We didn't have any structure loss on that fire. The fire did go right up to one of the homes at the top of the hill, but we were able to get the fire around there, no issue. Other than having a bunch of firefighters walking around on their patio, I think it was pretty much unaffected. So now the Pay fire, that again, good active fire behavior. We had some spotting and some alignment with the terrain there. It kind of took off along mid slope there and headed off towards the east. Good firefighting came from that. We did have some structures that were affected. Ultimately, 10 were affected, 9 were damaged, and 1 was destroyed. The destroyed structure was just a like a miscellaneous utility structure along the airport there. Fortunately, we had the airport there. You know, that actually kind of worked as a bit of a fire break. It really bumped up against there. And the crews were able to really concentrate down on the south end of the fire there and over towards the east and get that out. So overall, really good firefighting. But again, this is still, we're only in July. You know, these are some pretty good fires. You can see how much the weather affects fire behavior, ignitions, those types of things. So we had a really hot and dry spell there for a little bit of a respite now. So we're still getting ignitions, but they're not taking off like they were. So with that, I'd want to just hand it over to Deputy Whitlock. He's going to talk about a little bit about the evacuations piece on that and how it went for EDSO. Is there any questions for me before we move on? Go ahead. So we have, I don't know all the numbers off the top of my head. I'm not in the aviation program, but in addition to the planes that CAL FIRE specifically owns, we also have, I would say upwards of 75, 90 exclusive use aircraft. And that includes like helicopters, fixed wings, very large air tankers, those types of things. And what exclusive use is, like, they're on contract to CAL FIRE and we'll use them for response, you know, with federal incidents and those types of things as well. So in terms of an aircraft firefighting force, we have a larger air force than some countries, if you include all the exclusive use stuff.
For the spotting, I just had a question. There wasn't much wind at all with the moccasin fire, and I don't think there was with the Pay fire. So with this spotting, is that wind that's created by the fire itself? Is that why spotting still happens?
Yeah. So like when you get a fire, that convective column will push up, you know, some of those embers and stuff. And as they fall down, you know, there's always some general winds aloft and those types of things that can kind of, you know, put the that ember into receptive fuel bed. So it's obviously when you have a more significant wind, you're getting into that 10, 15, 20 mile an hour, you're going to have more spotting, but it's not completely, just because you don't have significant wind doesn't mean you're not going to see spotting. Terrain plays a role in that too. So you get a fire, ember goes up in the fire, falls way down deep in the drainage. That's how you get those types of spot fires. Chris?
Water. I saw on the moccasin tankers, Channel 3 had a great location, and so they were, you know, filming a lot, and the trucks were actually coming in, and the narrowness of the roads was an obvious problem because they couldn't pass each other.
Right.
But water seemed like you were hauling in from outside with your big tanker trucks.
Yeah.
And also on the Pay fire, it seems like you could pull out of Weber Reservoir fairly easy for your dip. Is that what you also were recognizing, water and being able to fight the fire effectively?
Yeah, on the moccasin fire, we were actually we were quite it was beneficial. There was a fire hydrant like really close to the fire, so they were able to actually make a turnaround on those our water tenders there pretty quickly. And after we get established, we kind of figure out a system and stuff. You know, obviously when a fire is just starting out, it can be, I don't want to say chaotic, but it's just, there's a lot of moving parts type of thing. So just getting our system down worked good. So we were fortunate to have that hydrant there for the moccasin fire. And then for, you know, the Pay fire or any other incidents that we have, like with rotary wing, you know, they will, you know, where they think it's safe, they'll go ahead and they'll dip out of their ponds to get the water that they need. You know, if they make a significant impact on that pond, there is a way for us to, you know, make that homeowner or that property owner whole again as well. Tamara.
For the tracking of the ignitions next to treatment areas, will somebody be looking at the difference in types of treatment and how effective they were, like in terms of types of treatment, but also scale of treatment?
Yeah. So when we ultimately do the report, we'll pull information on the treatment that was done, and then we can assess against what how effective that was. You know, was it a broadcast burn or mastication, that type of thing. And that's all just going to be some of those inputs that ultimately go into the report. And that's more for us to go back and study and see, you know, what's effective and how we can maybe make improvements in the future.
And is that going to be an annual report? Do you know?
So it's based on incidents. They will be doing a long-term report on this. I don't know when that's going to happen,
Mhm.
but it's so every fire that we get, any ignition that we get within a quarter acre of a treatment area will generate some type of report. We may have some where it's like it either didn't get to that treatment area or had no effect, and in that case, it's pretty simple for us. With, no effect, no treatment type of thing.
I've seen several fires lately start as structure fires, spread to vegetation. I think one or both of those may have been the case, but my question is, what is it during the summer that seems to be causing quite a few structure fires that then spread to the vegetation?
Yeah, I can't like say exactly why. Obviously, in the winter time, if you get a structure fire, it's not necessarily going to extend to the vegetation. So I think just by and large, we get about the same amount of structure fires every month, just in the summertime when you have that receptive fuel bed in the WUI. That's when it's going to become like obviously a much larger event.
In areas where you're fighting and there's a known public water system and a lack of fire hydrants, has CAL FIRE ever put into EID for increasing fire hydrants on the public system so that it's not such an issue trying to find one?
As far as you mean new locations for hydrants?
Right, because that's the thing that we're looking at in our FSC, because they're so spaced so sparsely where
Right.
they could be more accessible.
Right. So a lot of that's all taken care of during the initial planning phase. And like I said, some of these areas that were developed, they were developed long before some of our modern planning efforts have taken place and the requirements that are there now. So
understand.
if you were to put in, you couldn't build in some of the areas with the infrastructure that's in place now. You'd need to improve it. You need to improve access, those types of things. Now, if like a special district or something sees a need and they want to put in extra hydrants, obviously, we would support that, but that's not a requirement that's going to come from CAL FIRE. As to needing to put in more after the fact.
Not even a suggestion to encourage EID to make it easier to get the fire hydrants in place?
Yeah, that's a little bit, that's kind of asking for a requirement after it's already been finalized. So it's not, it's getting a little bit out of our lane to like go through that route and encourage them to do that. We would support it, but it's not, we're not going to go out and look for areas specifically and say like, you must put in additional water supply here.
Yeah, I'm not saying must. It's something to make it a little easier to get fire hydrants in place.
Yeah.
Since we are trying to stop fires as opposed to let them burn.
And a lot of that's not going to come from a CAL FIRE requirement. It'd be more like for your water districts and how they want to go about placing those hydrants and water supply and that type of thing. And this, yep. So all these planning efforts and stuff like that, they can come together and then, your area can go through and start looking for grant monies and that type of thing as well to make those improvements. But it's not going to come as a requirement from CAL FIRE. Yeah. Okay. Yes, sir.
I was just curious, watching it online during the Pay Fire. I was a little bit surprised that there was, it wasn't much, but there was some damage at the airport.
Yeah.
Was that untreated private property that bumped up right against the airport, or
I don't know what the treatment looked like before the fire. We don't have a record, like our crews haven't been out there to do the inspections out there. There was vegetation just came right up to the hangars there. They're metal buildings though, so the damage there, there was some significant stuff, but it didn't, everything was about less than 50%. So moderate damage, but nothing major, nothing completely destroyed. But yeah, again, to the point, that whole defensible space thing, if they'd have had their, 2-4 inches of grass and they'd have cleared out all the brush, that type of thing, that fire could have burned right up the metal building, wouldn't have made any difference.
Jeff, I want to grab, we have Paul Gilchrist with a question online.
Okay, go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead, Paul.
Hi, Jeff. I had to step away for a moment. So if this question was already asked, I'll ask for forgiveness. So with the reporting in the against treated areas and how the suppression efforts have fared, will that data, or is it possible that that data or those reports feed back into the CAL FIRE mapping systems for the severity zones so that treatment areas have a over time, if the data supports it, says that, hey, it significantly lowers the fire risk?
Yeah, so the fire hazard severity zones do not consider any type of fuel modification that's taken place. It is an assessment of the hazard over a 30 to 50 year time frame. So just because you went in a specific area and you treated that, whatever, 20, 40, 50, 100 acres, that's not going to change what the potential hazard is over that period of time. So it would not affect the severity zone maps.
Nice job, though. You guys did great.
Thank you. I'll hand it over to Deputy Whitlock. You guys have any questions about evacs?
Okay, I'm Deputy Whitlock. I'm one of the full-time OES deputies here at the county. Also work for EDSO. And like CAL FIRE was saying, we just wanted to touch on the two fires and kind of from our perspective, what we saw. I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the success of the Fire and Law Enforcement Unified Command and getting to the scene and setting up that unified command early was very helpful for us during it. So law enforcement and fire incident commanders connected quickly in the field, worked together and formulated a plan of evacuation with the information provided early and again, the chaotic early stages of an incident. I wanted to give you a couple stats from each of the fires. The Moccasin fire. Our first arriving deputy was 16 minutes. In all, in that initial response, there were 55 law enforcement officers that responded to conduct evacuations, security, traffic control points, which is pretty impressive. I mean, on our daily shift of deputies, we have around 10 to 12. So to get 55 there in the first early stages of the fire is pretty good. We did have help from the DA's office, Placerville PD, tribal police. There was a couple other agencies that came and helped too. So that's kind of where that 55 came from. During that fire, obviously we had multiple evacuations and orders. During the early stages of it and the location of the Moccasin fire, we worked with fire and we kind of went a little bit bigger on the evacuation order, just because that's an area that we've modeled in the past and they kind of had an idea what was going to happen there. So we went a little big on the orders and the warnings initially. Shelters were opened. We had 3 days of security patrols and traffic control points. We had a successful integration of the perimeter program with the alert and warning system, which I'll talk about here when I get on the next page. And then that total acreage was 51.5 acres. The Pay fire, first arriving deputy was on scene in 7 minutes. OES personnel arrived. That one we had 34 law enforcement officers conducting evacuation orders and warnings. Multiple evacuation orders and warnings again. And that one was also projected to be a little bit bigger. Shelters were opened. We had 3 days of security patrols and traffic control points. Again, we used perimeter along with the alert and warning system, and that one ended up at 71 acres. During the AAR of the Moccasin fire, we had some items that were identified, and this wasn't from law enforcement or OES. This was put out to all the agencies that responded, including fire. So some opportunities for public safety enhancement. We had access in the Oak Hill community was very narrow. Roadside vegetation management in some areas was needed more. More defensible space by homeowners would be beneficial. Suggest community to sign up for emergency alerts. I've had, if I remember right, at least 4 from the Oak Hill community that I've signed up for emergency alerts after the fire. Address visibility on properties would be a helpful improvement. Example, the house that burned down in the Moccasins fire did not have a visible address sign. And street signs needed with road names for the entire Oak Hill community. And that was caveated with more in the remote areas of Oak Hill, not the initial main roads. So that was that. I don't have anything for the pay fire because the AAR hasn't been completed yet. Going back to the perimeter information that we talked about. Everybody knows what perimeter is, right? Perimetermaps.com. Okay. So some numbers from that, from 6/29 to 6/30. So these are a couple days before the fires. We had 20,500 unique visitors and 45,700 total visits to the site. So unique visitors means everybody's individual IP addresses. So if you go on Perimeter Maps with your phone, you individually, you look at the map, it counts you as a one individual unique user. But if you go onto the map multiple times during that day, it's going to count those times and give you the total number. So that's the difference between those two numbers. It had approximately 51% access the map directly, which ended up being about 10,455 people. And approximately 37% access the link to the evacuation zone that was shared presumably through the alert system and or county websites. So Moccasin Fire on 7/2, we had 138,000 unique users. We had 350,000 total visits. 73% came from incident links and 18.5% directly visited the map, which was about 25,530. So just for that one day. The pay fire, 7/8. There were 268,000 unique visitors, 616,000 total views, 73% of the link that was sent out, 73 from the link that was sent out, and also embedded on various news sites and CAL FIRE sites. 17% were direct visit to the public map, which ended up being 45,560. So with the campaign that we're going, if you guys have had us out to your fire safety council meetings to talk about perimeter and rave and emergency alert system, the word is getting out there, and you can see over the 3 time periods, especially with incidents happening, people are visiting the site more and using it more. So with the campaign and integration of the link during the alert and warning phase, the use of Perimeter's public facing map has been a success so far in getting more information out to the public during these emergencies. And that's all I have for the fire part of it. On the OES side of the house, currently the LHMP is with the state in the approval process, and then it will be moved on to federal FEMA for the approval. And the EOP that was finished last year and approved by the state is back with them currently for a review, which is a little bit backwards. So that's, once that gets approved, we have another 4 years before that's due. So we'll make the changes and follow the laws along the next 4 years and make the changes that need to be done in there. And then in 4 years, we'll turn that again. So, but that's what I have for that. Any questions? Yes.
I had a question about the security. By the way, people love Perimeter. It was fabulous. But for the security, so you said that the security is at traffic points. So you don't actually have security throughout the evacuation order area. Is that right? It's just at some of the entrances?
So we do 2 types. So the traffic control points that you're talking about are usually manned by CHP, and they are static in that position. They won't leave that position, or they're not supposed to leave that position to go anywhere else or do any other kind of patrols. The security within the evacuated area, the warning area, not the warning area, the warning order is done by our side of the house. So you'll have patrol deputies or the tribe helped us out, the DA investigators. Somebody in law enforcement will be mobile within that area that's evacuated. And they're looking for anything. It's their whole goal is to keep everything safe in there. Yeah, the Moxon Road itself was pretty heavily congested, but we could maneuver out and around that area. So they can get to all the parts that were under an order. They just had to do a little bit of driving to get there.
Other questions for Deputy Whitlock?
Excellent report.
Thank you.
Yeah. Huge thank you to Jeff, Jeff's, and all law enforcement and fire, et cetera. Just appreciate the engagement, and what you guys do. The free engagement, you guys have been making a lot of fire safe council meetings and other community meetings to get the word out. And I think, Jeff, your stats sort of, they doubled each time throughout the course of 3 days, and that says a lot. And I think you just.
Yeah. Did you introduce him again? I didn't get his name down.
Oh,
the one that just reported.
The one right there.
Jeff Whitlock, WHITLOCK. Yep.
Cool. Thanks, Jeff. All right, next up, Office of Wildfire Preparedness and Resilience, Tom and Tanya.
All right, so been an incredibly busy month in our office. And before I dive into that, just a quick note on our staffing update. As of this week, we are fully staffed. So we're up to 9 people in our office. Our newest person, Jenny, is here at the meeting, so I wanted to introduce her and have her share just a little bit about her background and some of the things that she'll be working with. So I'll put her on the spot.
Hi, I'm Jenny, and I'm the senior administrative analyst for OWOPR. And my background, I started with the county last September in the chief administrative office in their fiscal division, doing budgeting and accounts payable. Had some supervisory role there. Prior to that, I was in banking for 17 years, and my most recent role was a financial center manager, and I opened a private commercial branch of a bank in Folsom, and headed up the project of opening that, getting everything in compliance and security things in place. So that's kind of my background. I'm excited to be working with all of you, and I will be the project manager for the Weber Creek project. So I'm about ready to dive in and get that ball rolling.
Thank you. So yeah, as Jenny mentioned, she'll be serving as the project manager for Weber Creek project. So over the course of the next few weeks, quickly coming up to speed on everything underway with that and becoming the subject matter expert on Weber Creek. One of the most exciting things recently, and I was tuning into it at our last meeting and didn't have the news to share by the time the end of the meeting rolled around, but El Dorado County was placed on the Board of Forestry's fire risk reduction community list. So I'm sure most or all of you saw the press release that went out last week. And so really excited about that and what that offer or affords to residents in the unincorporated areas of the county is. Translates to discounts on their homeowners insurance under the Safer from Wildfires initiative. We've also put together a little informational or guidance flyer for residents to utilize when they reach out to their insurance company to request the discount. So I brought copies of that here if anybody's interested. And then all of that information is also available on our website. So it's got links to NFPA's website to provide verification that you're in a FireWise community, unless you already have the certificate for that. So that is one of the 10 criteria under the Safer from Wildfires initiative for a discount. Also a link to the Board of Forestry's website for a copy of the 2024 FERCL list, and then information on the Safer from Wildfires initiative that references other discounts available for home hardening and defensible space. So any questions, please feel free to reach out to our office, and we'd be happy to help guide you or provide some information to your communities on contacting their insurance company. For the Weber Creek project, the environmental review is underway right now. We anticipate the initial 160 no-issue parcel list being completed and submitted to FEMA for review probably within the next 2 or 3 months. And then more review under phase 2, hopefully wrapping up by end of 2025. But kind of depends on what they find throughout their review. So with that, hoping to, at least for the initial no issue parcel list, being able to start the home assessments for defensible space and home hardening beginning of 2025. And then so our focus during the next few months and with Jenny diving into it, will be coming up with an outreach strategy to reach out to that community, educate them on what this project is, and start the initial conversations and kind of socializing the right of entry agreements and tri-party agreements and the whole application process to try and get the maximum number of participants in the program. So that'll be our focus over the next few months. Defensible space program. So the ordinance was adopted yesterday. So becomes effective August 16th. So our focus now is finalizing the implementation guidelines, which will be kind of a field manual for our inspectors and other inspectors that are inspecting under the county's ordinance from other agencies. And then updating our checklist to be used during those inspections that incorporates everything that was updated within the ordinance. As I mentioned, fully staffed. So we do have 2 new defensible space inspectors. One started this week, the other started 2 weeks ago. So they have really hit the ground running and doing complaint investigations and training, and then defensible space inspections for our emphasis areas. Right now they're working on Crystal Boulevard. We also had the public workshop up in the Tahoe Basin joint effort with Lake Valley Fire. So we had that on Monday, and they'll be starting their inspections in the upper Apache area within the next week or so. And then once Crystal Boulevard is completed, we'll be doing Gilmore, and that's an area up in Pollock Pines, and then looking at middle of September to do that initial workshop there. Last other big thing is our office is starting to work on our work plan for 2025, kind of building upon what was included in the wildfire strategy that was adopted last August by the Board of Supervisors. Wanted to get started early on that process, and then the goal will be to provide the Board of Supervisors with an update towards the end of the year and ask them to endorse that plan just in advance of 2025. Also like to turn it over to Tanya to talk about some of the coordination efforts and her role, unless there are any other questions for me. Yes.
So I heard a radio interview show this week, and one of the people was saying that as of currently, there isn't anything on the law books forcing the insurance companies to give those discounts. Is that true or not true?
No. So under the Safer from Wildfires initiative through the Department of Insurance, it states clearly identifies the 10 criteria that have to be considered. And it says on there, these 10 things will qualify you for a discount on your homeowner's insurance. And it doesn't say that you have to meet all 10 to qualify, treated independently. So we have had a number of residents reach out to us and let us know that their insurance agent told them no. So we're recommending to them that they escalate it with their insurance company. And then if that's unsuccessful, contact the Department of Insurance to pursue that further. All right, I'll turn it over to Tanya.
Hey. I have a couple things to report on the coordinator program. So the California Fire Safe Council is creating a county coordinator program video that will showcase the coordinator position throughout the state and how it's really connecting and strengthening the local and regional networks in the communities, and also how the community is engaging with each other and being empowered by that engagement, and how the program is sustainable. So we have a couple pretty big flexes here. I sent them photos from our site visits. There was a number of them. The majority of the site stops that we made on the site visit, there was upwards of 20 to 30 people at those stops. So those included representatives from the fire safe councils and the partner agencies in the county. So it was very, very engaging. And it was a great turnout. So I sent those photos over because I think it's a real big showcase of the partnership and collaboration in this county. Also, I sent over videos from the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council, your videos that are on your website, how to start a fire safe council, what is a fire safe council, why you should have one. So I sent those over too, because those are really good. So they will be taking all of the content that they're sent and creating this big video that I'll make sure to share with you when it's finished. So that's from the California Fire Safe Council. And then I have gotten to come to a number of your Fire Safe Council meetings in the last couple of weeks. And it has been, I believe, very beneficial for our office and for the Fire Safe Councils. I've been able to answer questions from the councils directly related to the county. I've been able to give information from the county to the councils. There's just been some, different kind of questions. At one of the councils, there was a evacuation issue. There was a discrepancy in an address. I just shared that with OES. They'd already been aware of it, but just little things like that, just to be able to share information I have from you guys to our office or to whoever else needs to hear it. So I am available to keep coming to your meetings. There's a lot more of you. I've only been to a few, so keep me in mind. If there's anything in particular that you have on your agenda that you'd like me to come to, then I'm happy to do that. Also, I've been able to just get information about what's working for councils and hoping to share that with other councils that are maybe struggling with some things, and other councils are doing a really good job at it. So I've gotten some really good ideas that I will be sharing with the other councils too, once I talk to them about how we can share that information. So anyway, thank you very much.
Any questions for Tanya? All right, thanks. Thank you both. Okay, next up, I see Chief Cordero is online, Fire Chiefs Association. Chief, the floor is yours.
Copy that. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. And thank you to Chief Hoag and Deputy Whitlock for kind of covering the Moccasin Fire and the Pay Fire for us. I won't repeat any of that other than huge thank you to all of our collaboration and partnerships with local fire agencies, CAL FIRE, Forest Service, Tribal Fire, all the law enforcement agencies. Really, takes a huge effort and a big team to mitigate those and ensure we don't have any additional losses of homes and whatnot. So great effort by everybody. In addition to that, we also locally had some Cal OES funded resources. There's a program with Cal OES where they will fund the pre-positioning of resources based on weather criteria. And so during both of those fires, we did locally have some additional engine companies and water tenders and chief officers that were on duty and responded, and those were all being funded by Cal OES. In addition to that, down in Sacramento County, they had a strike team that was under the Cal OES pre-position, and those folks came up to help us out. So really just kind of a huge thank you to everybody. And with that, we're kind of gearing up. It's a bit early in the fire season. We've got a long haul ahead of us, but I think through all of our partnerships and collaboration, we'll come out this fall and see how we all fared. But with that, that's really kind of the activity on the Fire Chiefs Association. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. Chris has his hand up. Hang on. Go ahead, Chris.
Chief, the integration of El Dorado County Fire and Diamond Springs, El Dorado Fire, can you just give us a 30-second on how you guys are doing?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking. So we continue to work towards the annexation partnership with Diamond Springs. We are currently working on a Senate bill, SB 1240, which has to do with the CalPERS component that with all the reforms and changes to CalPERS law, we needed a Senate bill to allow the Diamond Springs employees, when they come across, to not be viewed as new employees to the agency. And that helps them retain their current CalPERS formulas. That's made it through the Senate. It's working its way through the Assembly. And basically, once that piece is buttoned up, hopefully in August, we'll be moving forward with submitting all of our formal application and processes to LAFCO for consideration. We've completed our feasibility study, and all of those pieces are kind of falling into line. So that's our target, is to, like I said, hit LAFCO, hopefully August, September, or somewhere in that time frame. We're kind of depending on how the Assembly moves that bill through.
Thank you, Chief.
You bet.
Okay, any other questions for Chief Cordero? All right, thank you. And we also have Chief Gallagher on. Welcome, Chief Gallagher. Fire prevention officers, I know Lucas Shepard is out of town for the week. I don't know, Krishana Fields is on. Any thoughts from your perspective from the Fire Prevention Officers Association?
Good morning. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, perfect. I wasn't planning on talking for the FPO group, but that's fine. We did meet last month. We meet again tomorrow. The only thing that would probably be applicable that we went over was we're following the Senate Bill 1060, if you're aware of that one, which would require insurers that are using the risk modeling for their fire insurance to include wildfire mitigation and home hardening. That one passed the Senate and it's currently in the House. So we're just following that particular bill. But that's all that we have as an update from the FPO group. Were there any questions?
Nope, looks good. No, thanks for letting me throw you on the spot, Krishana, but that was perfect.
No problem. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I don't see the Forest Service in the room or online. But just like everyone, it is fire season, and I know folks are busy. Courtney, are you prepared to chat for RCD today?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Courtney Jackson with the RCD. So we have a couple of updates regarding the this South County fuel reduction project that has been awarded, and that should be posted on our website this week. And the contractor should be able to get started as soon as the fire restrictions are in a better place. So that should happen pretty soon. Let's hope. And the Georgetown RFP is going to go out. So that is for the fuels reduction project, Spanish Flat to Chili Bar. So that should be happening fairly quickly. The Coloma Lotus roadside fuels reduction project, we are looking at expanding out just a tad to make some clearance off of some roads that need some more clearance. And so that is being mapped out, and we'll bring that back to the Coloma Lotus Fire Safe Council for review and approval. The Marshall should be starting as soon as fire danger levels are getting better. And then we have Mosquito, Volcano, and Grizzly Flat construction. That should be, the contractors should be starting in early fall. Again, fire danger when that reduces. The Placerville Wildfire Resilience Strategy, we met yesterday, and they have identified a technical assistance committee. And so they will be, we've got a lot of data that we have submitted to WSP, the consultant. So they are using that to formulate a draft to present to the TAC. And they are looking to identify projects and incorporating all of the other projects, future and planned projects, so that we are not doing any duplication, and keeping in mind the CWPP plan and what they are trying to accomplish as well, to be complementary. So that's about it, unless anyone has any questions.
Questions for the RC?
Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. So what I'm noticing here that's a little bit different between the HVAC and the refrigerators, there's a lot of background noise. So I think we're all just going to have to probably do our best to project for the room so folks in the room can hear. The microphones don't do anything for us here. They're just for online. So again, we'll have to do our best to try to speak up. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric Brown, who never has trouble speaking up.
Well, good morning. Eric Brown with SMUD. Just a quick update as it relates to our operations. I'll start off with some community engagement activities. Last month, myself and several of our colleagues participated in the El Dorado Chamber Business Showcase held at the fairgrounds. Pretty well attended, I think, because of the free libation and free food. But nonetheless, we had some great folks stop by. We were sharing a lot about our watershed hydro generation activities, plus some other activities related to internships and our interest in continuing to grow our professional network and showcase some of the technical jobs that our company is looking to hire for. We have a lot of folks ready to retire or could retire, so we're looking to continue to have a pipeline of interested candidates. So we shared a lot of that. It was a good turnout. That was from 6 to 9 p.m. Now we'll get into some veg operations activities. Most recently, spent some time with one of our 2 traditional helicopter flights in El Dorado County. We have done those for about 10 years now. And I say traditional helicopter flights, it's humans in helicopters. We're flying essentially from Folsom to the Desolation Wilderness over all of our electric and hydro generation assets, looking for tree mortality of some kind, either insects or just general tree mortality based on precipitation and weather conditions. The results of that particular flight in June, which we also shared with Sierra Pacific, we're not really seeing much as it relates to insect issues or tree mortality. I think it's It's consistent with the weather conditions we've had the last couple of winters, but the tree conditions in general are doing pretty well. We'll have a second traditional flight. It'll probably be around November to see what results are of the summer on the forest, and we'll take action if there's anything that we identify there. In addition to that, we'll still be starting up our ground patrol with our forestry technicians and arborists. That'll start in about 30 days. So we'll be making our way through looking for tree conditions that are around our electric assets that are of concern. Additionally, we have one landowner remaining out of 1,500 from the 5-year work activity, forest health, fuels reduction work that we've been doing, essentially from Folsom to the Desolation Wilderness. A reluctant landowner that continues to be a bit of a challenge. We're making small incremental progress, but I'm hoping by the end of next month, we'll have all that work complete, that landowners in the Apple Hill area. Additionally, we'll be putting together a pretty robust summary of our work activities that we've completed over the last 4.5 years, actually 3.5 years, a year early, and about forecasting about $10 million under budget from what we originally projected. For those that aren't familiar, in the Crystal Basin on the U.S. Forest Service land, we have about 4 million board feet of timber that is already processed and going to be heading to an SPI mill in the next couple of months. Those timber sales were sold by the Forest Service, and that material is going to move to a mill to be processed. So that was a pretty substantial activity. Worked with the Forest Service for a couple of years on that. I've spoken about it a couple of times. The culmination of that in June, we had the Forest Service chief from Region 5 from Vallejo up to view the work. She hadn't seen it yet, as well as all the senior leaders from the local ENF right here in Placerville. We spent about half or 3/4 of a day looking at all the work that we've accomplished in collaboration together, forest health work, landscape level, watershed wide level, fuels reduction, and timber work, logging, traditional logging activities. That meeting has went very, very well and has spurred some conversations on with the utility colleague, PG&E, that also needs to do things in a similar fashion. So the region chief asked if I would coordinate meetings with PG&E for us here locally and Southern Cal Edison, because she covers all forests in the region. And I've got that in the works. So hopefully we'll have some additional support or similar work accomplished by PG&E in the near future. That's the end of my report, unless there's questions.
Looks like Chris.
So in the past, you've always done very thorough reports. I'm kind of interested in Slab Creek and how that has turned out from what your original intentions were there. Can you speak to Slab Creek and the work that you did or have done?
As it relates to the hydro generation facility?
Yeah.
Everything seems to be working very, very well based on the communications I've had from our hydro generation operators. The system's running at full steam. It's well connected to the grid, and there are no issues with that facility at this time.
Yeah.
We're fortunate because we actually did quite a bit of fuels reduction and forest health work as that facility was being built, in addition to access in and out of that facility. So right now, everything is in a really good position.
And then what was the capacity of that?
I think it was 3 megawatts.
3 megawatts. And then also the recreational aspects. Could you kind of speak to that? A bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
I didn't really touch on that much, not specific to Slab Creek, but all of our hydro generation assets in the Crystal Basin and the American River watershed. SMUD has a FERC license. That FERC license requires us to do a number of improvements for recreation, and it covers a lot of El Dorado County activities. It's $250 million over 60 years that the company is investing in recreational improvements. Some of those, to note, we're finishing a pretty substantial trail improvement around the Union Valley Reservoir, as well as starting and should finish by the end of this year, another hiking, biking, walking trail around Ice House Reservoir as well. Just a couple of items to note. Hopefully that covered your questions, Chris. Additional questions?
Looking like we're good. No more here.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Again, and I'm thinking if you continue to have the one issue with the challenging landowner, Angel is becoming an artist at working with those. So we might, yes, we'll send her your way. No, great. Thank you. All right, so I don't see Mike from PG&E, and I don't see Elizabeth from Bureau of Reclamation. So that will conclude our partners report section. We'll move on to program reports and grants. Cameron Johnson. Red light.
So I have some really good news. We got notified by the California Fire Safe Council that we're getting the $100,000 community education and outreach grant. I know, very exciting. With, I hope, the very small caveat that we have to make sure we fill out, there are 50 million forms and do it properly. So they've said, you know, it's not a done deal until it's a done deal. So yeah, we're working on the forms, and I think it's a pretty close to done deal, but until we get the grant agreement, there's that. The grant was supposed to start in June. They're now saying grant period begins September 1st. I pushed back on that a little since I think we're thinking that we wanted to have our project start over the summer, and they were pretty much like, yeah, well, too bad. So September 1st, it will still be a 24-month grant period, but just starts a couple months later than we were anticipating. So if you don't remember what your project was and what your budget was, well, I'll be sending it out to everybody once we get it finalized. I'll send you back your budgets that you gave me, what I included in the grant, what you said your project was going to be, and any reporting kind of requirements I'll need from you in order to make sure we keep up on this grant. So anyway, very exciting. Yeah. So a couple other things that were pending. We had applied for $53,000 from the Community Navigator program. It's a program out of Colorado to fund extra community meetings for the CWPP. That was declined, although we got sort of a cryptic email saying that they're trying to get more money, and so they might be able to fund it at some point, but you know, who knows what that means. So for now it's declined. We're working on a funding process to still be able to fund those extra community meetings. Maybe, I don't know if you want to talk about that, Ken.
Well, no, just we're partnering with El Dorado County. What we identified in the process is we want a number more meetings that can focus particularly on fire safe councils and others, so we ensure we get out to everyone. And so the county's looking at the contract and looking at the contingency funds available, and then we'll bring it to the executive board. But it's really not much money to spend extra, but we'd be looking at using some Title III money potentially to add, and so share the cost of adding these additional meetings. And so we'll bring that back to the e-board, but it's a great opportunity to really double down on getting more meetings and more engagement with our community members during the process.
And then a couple of other ones that are still pending. Just as a reminder, we have about $1 million with CAL FIRE for the Defensible Space Program, another 1.2 with CAL FIRE for hazardous tree removal, and the CEQA, doing the CEQA process for extending the feet that we're able to remove trees from structures. We have a $100,000 grant pending with PG&E for defensible space and for stipends for fire safe councils to do inspections or assessments. So those three are still pending. And I just want to, I've had requests and it's on my list to do. I just haven't been able to get to it, to put together kind of an ongoing list of grant opportunities with deadlines. It is on my list to do that, and I will send everybody the link. It'll be on a Google Doc, and that will just be something that keeps being updated. I just haven't been able to get to it yet. And finally, just a reminder, if you are thinking about doing a project in your area of any kind, it's not too soon to start the conversation. So please reach out to me and I can help you think it through and how that might fit in with the CWPP and all these other things that we're working on. So I'm a resource for that. Please reach out to me. So thank you. You have a question?
Real quick on the education grant, yay. Wasn't California Fire Safe Council the one that we had so much trouble getting money from before?
Yes.
Is that going to be happening again, do you think? It could.
It's a really good question, and I don't know the answer. Yeah, I mean, they're way behind even letting us know, even deciding on the grants. So like 3 months behind already. So it doesn't bode well. Yeah, unfortunately. Any other questions?
Cameron, definitely good news. All right, assistance programs. I will turn the mic over to Jessica.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm going to let you all know the year-to-date numbers for our assistance programs. Oh, right, project. So year-to-date for our chipping program, we have completed 273 jobs. We've cleared 439 acres. We've chipped 42,648 cubic yards. And we've spent $113,517. For defensible space, we have evaluated 68 new properties. We've cleared 54 properties. The average cost per parcel is $1,104.68. And we've spent $67,291.87. We've serviced 16 veterans, 46 seniors, 14 low income, and 14 disabled personnel. For hazardous tree, we have assessed 86 new parcels, completed 136, identified 204 new trees. We've cut 323 trees. The average cost per tree cut is $936.97. And we've spent $345,655.50. Any questions?
So just checking in, does the 100-foot limit still apply from a house?
Yes.
For the hazardous tree program?
For now.
Great statistics. Wow. And I had my notes from last month, so I was able to go right over the top of it with you. Good job. But I was wondering, it seemed like there's a lot of data that's bumped these numbers up from your last report to this report. So I was just wondering, does that mean there's more activity going on, or it just takes that long to get the data pushed forward?
Which program specifically are you referring to?
Specifically, chipping, we went from 188 jobs to 273. We went from 323 acres to 439, 84,000 to 113,000 overall. It just seems like maybe there's a little lag that then you get it all, when data comes and pushes forward, the numbers go up rather than more activity on the ground.
So I just checked just to make sure I didn't do a typo.
Yeah.
That was accurate.
Okay, it was.
That's how
accurate.
many jobs we serviced last month.
Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's remarkable.
Yeah. Well, summertime usually picks up, and I have expressed to our contractors to, senior, a lot of people get nervous, so they're pushing them out.
Good job.
Any more questions? Oh, and to let you all know, I'm not moving anymore. It's just too expensive right now. Yeah, eventually, but not for a while.
As you'll remember, because of the funding issues that the California Fire Safe Council had getting their defensible space funding out, we had held back on doing a lot of defensible space projects for folks who had applied. We got both paid for the back costs that we had already expended, plus the California Fire Safe Council gave us a significant advance that we are working through. So Jessica was able to schedule and get in process all of the jobs that had been previously in the queue but not assigned out.
And just so you guys are aware, for defensible space, right now we're pushing out 20 evaluations per week. So we're trying to get caught up because we have a lot, but we only have 2 evaluators, but they're knocking them out. And so they're going to start trickling in pretty quickly now.
Great, and definitely appreciate those reports and the information. And remember, we have 2 grants into CAL FIRE, for one for hazardous tree removal and one for the Defensible Space Assistance Program, each for roughly $1 million each. So whatever you have to do to think good thoughts, we hope to hear the outcome of that, here in the next couple of months. So thank you. Training committee, you.
That couple things. The training committee, as a training committee itself, has not had a meeting for a little while, and the reason for that is obviously is we have this working group trying to resolve the issues that we got from the survey. That group has been meeting on a regular basis. Elizabeth has run that group. I don't see her. I don't think is she online? Well, then you know what, Elizabeth, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you talk about that, because we're not going to have a training committee for a little while till we get a little further with that. So Elizabeth, if you'll talk about your group, it would be great.
Reserve the right to come back to review. Anything else?
No, well, I just want to say that the training group, we will meet, we're going to meet. We haven't met, and that's really my fault, but we've been kind of, like I say, trying to work on this other thing, get it done. We had a meeting yesterday on that, and it is moving along. I expect that to hopefully have those things resolved relatively soon. I'm glad we got some money because we're going to need to spend some as part of that whole thing. So that's all I have on a training group for now.
To you, and Elizabeth just texted that her current computer doesn't have a microphone, so she appreciated you giving the update. I don't think she probably wanted you to give her up on that. So we'll deal with them appropriately, Elizabeth, later. So out of education, Alice.
Great. So one of the things that was hoped for, and now apparently is going to be funded, was to build that little home hardened house that was going to be on a trailer that's going to be available for all fire safe councils to use. So the reason I bring that up, apparently it's not starting until September 1st, but if there's someone in the audience who loves construction, or you have someone in your fire safe council who loves construction, Lester would love some help, because I know otherwise. Yeah, no, seriously, it would be a little group effort. It's going to be relatively small, but if this is something you'd be interested in helping with, we'd love that. Let's see, there is the El Dorado Community Foundation. You saw my email. I hope this is okay to mention, but yeah. Anyway, the El Dorado Community Foundation, El Dorado County Community Foundation, is having a nonprofit fair on August 29th, which is the point of it is to get volunteers. And so I don't believe the county fire safe council necessarily needs volunteers, but I think a lot of associate fire safe councils do. And so we are signed up to have a booth there and to try to give out input, or rather information on all the different fire safe councils, and hopefully actually get some people volunteering for your fire safe councils. So it's kind of similar to what we do at the fair. If you have a chance for your fire safe council to give me a 1-page about your fire safe council, I can add it to that binder I had at the fair. Otherwise, I just take stuff off the website and I just have a little bit about you. But just think about whether you want to create something about your fire safe council that we could then hopefully get volunteers for you. Let's see, I don't know what's going on with the August 4th event. I can't get them to give me much information, so I don't know if it's still happening. The Fire Safe Council networking today, when you guys all answered my survey, or at least a lot of you did with the Fire Safe Councils, one thing that came up was that you would like more of a chance to have a forum to talk to each other. You know, we get that little bit at the end, which is neat, but there's so much other wonderful stuff going on with the meeting that there's not a lot of time for it. And so that's why we're having this little lunch get together today. And if you want to join in, it's just very informal, but a chance to talk to others, fire safe councils, and hear what they're doing that they really like or what they don't like or whatever. Then also along the same line, if you have any things that you wish the Fire Safe Council was doing in terms of education, let me know. I'd like to know, you know, gosh, you know, I wish they'd do such and such, you know, please let me know. And lastly, Ken McKinstry, the other Ken here, yeah, from Gallagher has created, we worked together to create these, but he actually made them, which are really cool. Sure, actually, could you start with, where is it? This one. Yeah. So these are posters, and we're trying to create this kind of a thing that if you ever wanted to print it, you could put it like at a community bulletin board. How many fire safe councils here have community bulletin boards? 1, 2, 3. So there's a couple. So about 4 or so. I know some of them are like ours. We don't, because we're such a weird location. But if you do, that's what this kind of thing is for. You know, you can have different stuff that you can put up on your bulletin board. And the graphics, or rather the file for this, is available. So if you're interested in getting this and want to make some copies, just let me know. And that's it. Thank you. Yes.
Just made me think that, you know, the Georgetown Library has a section for us in there, you know, with like stuff like this, community bulletin board stuff, but also resources. And so I don't know if that would be an opportunity for other fire safe councils in their libraries.
Okay, good point. It doesn't have to be, it can be somewhere in the community, not right there. Again, so the idea is that a fire safe council would create this for their area. So, okay, I'm not going to go out and do it, but if, but we do, what we're trying to do is have the availability of graphics, resources available for you. And the idea too, eventually, is to have this kind of thing available on that back part of the website. So it'd be really easy to go get to. But for now, if you're interested, let me know. Hugh.
Yeah, Alice, on the other, you have one in landscape format.
Yes.
That one actually, I think, hopefully Ken or you have sent me the digital file for that. I'm actually going to take that to the printer. I'm going to have a banner made with that 3 by 5 foot banner.
Yeah.
And hang that out with that on it. So that's another option.
Right. Good point. Thank you. Anything else? Okay. And thank you, Ken.
Good stuff, Alice. Thank you. Okay, I know that Angel's been busy because we've been talking, but governance and new council formation, Angel.
There is some interest in some new fire safe councils. There's really not enough put together yet to announce any details. So probably next month we'll have more information on that. And that's all I have. End of report.
Well, I will say it for her then. And I think there's just a lot as we grow. We just a lot of look at what's the right fit for different organizations and making sure we're all talking to each other first as new communities are coming forward and wanting to propose new fire safe council areas. You know, just ensuring we're all talking to each other first to see is there a better fit with an existing council, or maybe things could look differently. We've been doing a lot of work with OWOPR to update maps so that our boundaries are more defined. So just a lot of moving parts in that whole space. And the executive board has had a lot of discussion about, let's really look hard at the process as new folks are coming forward. So one, it's very clear, but two, we are engaging with existing councils to see if there are better existing opportunities or better fits. And Angel has definitely taken that on to start engaging with folks and having that conversation. So definitely more to come there, but definitely appreciate Angel being willing to do that. Okay, we have no project reports this month, but there's no project report. We can do it during the open forum. That was our discussion. Is well, if you want to do that, talk to me ahead of time so we can agendize it, Chris. But right, we'll come back, but feel free to come back later and do that. But I want to reserve project reports so we can plan those ahead of time, and I'll put them on the agenda. Otherwise, we'll keep that one open and come back later. Be great. Okay, this is the time for community council reports. Just share what's going on around the community council network. So folks, fire away. Alice reaches the microphone first.
You, sorry. Oak Hill Area Fire Safe Council just wants to really thank CAL FIRE and all the fire protection people and the office of the sheriff's office. The Moccasin fire was very scary to us, and the response was incredible. Everybody in our community, we had a little planning meeting a couple days ago, and people were so thankful and felt that everything's gone real well. And so thank you. That's the main thing. And then the other thing is that we are planning to have, even though we talked about, we're planning, who was also Elizabeth.
The heat or by a reflection off a window. that set the fence on fire. We have wood fences all over our community, also not only Serrano, but all over the place. That fire traveled from where that started on the fence all the way to the houses on both sides. One of them was severely damaged. Fortunately, those houses were adjacent to open space, so they had iron fences in the back. Had it been an internal away from the open space, that fire could have traveled to houses all over. So that's a big issue for our community, and it's a huge concern. That's kind of where we're at.
Thanks, Bill. Others? Let's go with Bob and then we'll get back to.
Just
Talk loud.
Okay, Bob Pastor, Paloma Lotus Fire Safe Council. You know, I wanted to tell you about an event that we had here a couple of weeks ago in one of the communities within our Fire Safe Council. We have a terrific board that's kind of spread out in the different communities, and our secretary, her name is Janet Barbieri, and I'm really going to want to get her involved more with this group. She organized an event in one of the communities called Aerobee, and Aerobee, fairly large geographically, and I think 250 or so residents in the area. And I got to say, probably half of those 250 showed up to this event. Now, the reason it was so good was that Janet invited OES, who did a absolutely terrific talk on the escape routes in the area, and also perimeter map. She invited the Fire Safe Council and the El Dorado County Neighborhood Radio Watch, and the Fire Safe Council and Radio Watch shared a canopy. Now, I can't tell you how many canopies I have sat under and, you know, over the years, but this time I think we had the most interest. We were just flooded with people coming up to our canopy. We handed out the booklets. Thank you, Carrie. And we had a lot of questions about Firewise and insurance. It was just a really good mix of short talks. I gave a talk about the Fire Safe Council and our grant, how we were doing, and Firewise. We had another guy give a talk on the Neighborhood Radio Watch, and of course OES. So it was just a really, really good event, well attended, lots of interest. The other thing that I have mentioned before is, you know, we do a lot of things right in our Fire Safe Council, but we've done some things wrong, and one has just been outreach and getting the word out. And, you know, I've just been struggling. You know, we applied for, with Tamara for a website grant, and I've been struggling with ways to getting the word out. There's something that's kind of unique in our area. It's called CL News, Coloma Lotus News. It's an email list that is widely subscribed to. It's got huge subscription rate and goes beyond Coloma Lotus. And a lot of, you know, questions come up on that about insurance and Firewise, and a lot of incorrect information. So our board decided that we are going to pay for unique email addresses such as chair@clfiresafe.com, you know, outreach@clfiresafe.com. So anything that comes from our board will be recognized as hopefully credible information. The only other thing I was going to comment on is our roadside fuel reduction grant. I might have mentioned this last time. Tamara had done a survey with the Garden Valley Fire Chief, and right on the border between the Georgetown Divide Fire Safe Council and Coloma Lotus is a street that it's kind of a ridge line, and the Garden Valley Fire Chief had quite a bit of concern about that. So we brought that up with Courtney and RCD, and we, as Courtney alluded to, are going to be hopefully adding a couple areas with some extra funds that we have in our existing group. So it was just a good example, I think, of two fire safe councils working together. And that's all I got.
My name is Hassan. I'm from Sierra Springs Regional Fire Safe Council. Just a couple of quick updates. I think we mentioned before that PG&E was going to come through our area and start undergrounding. So if anyone's driven up Starks Grade Road, they're building a huge parking area. So and there's been a lot of sand haulers going through our neighborhood. So if anyone travels through there, just be aware that that's really going to be picking up, and that might start affecting access. And then the other thing is we are well underway with our community evaluations. And I wanted to express that if anybody else has the same situation as us, which is a fire safe council in conjunction in connection with a HOA, please feel free to contact us. We would love to impart our experiences that might give some insights, a few pitfalls and challenges also. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Greenstone.
Hey, I'm Janine from Greenstone Country. We have developed a survey to send out to the people in our community, just updating FireWise volunteer hours and asking them about insurance and those kinds of things. So we're going to be sending that out in the month of August. We had a big banner made up, so we're going to post that by our mailboxes so that people know that we do have a fire safe council. There are many people in our community. So what the comment about education is really people don't even know, even though we have the signs that we're FireWise USA, people say, well, what is it? So education is our big thing. We're trying to get people educated. Out of 347 homeowners, we've only done 28 total assessments. So we're trying to get those numbers up and letting people, but I was really happy that 3 of those homeowners had CAL FIRE inspections and they had 0 violations. So they were really happy and it helped maintain their insurance. So we had I talked about our successful event in May, and that's kind of it.
Janine, back here, Ken.
Ken McKinstry here, Gallagher Road Fire Safe Council. I'd like to take a moment and say thank you to the El Dorado County Department of Transportation. They've done a great job working on our evacuation route. We have a road and traditionally it'll wash out or we'll have trees over it. They've gone in and done a lot of work. In particular, in about the last month, they've improved the drainage of the entire thing, so hopefully it won't wash out in the future. A great job by the county DOT. Thank you. We've got a whole bunch of other projects happening as well, but that's the main one for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Oh, looks like Janine has to go back.
Board, the Greenstone board asked me if there was, we back up to Weber Creek. And so they wanted to know about vegetation control on steep terrain and that kind of thing. And I am going, Mark is going to attend our meeting. Mark Edbert tomorrow is going to attend our meeting just to have a discussion about whether we can do a project back there with either animals or with, he said there's new technologies that are coming out. So we're meeting with him tomorrow about that. And if that goes into a grant, I'll be meeting with you.
Thank you. Yes, Tamara.
So one of the things that we're constantly concerned about as we do all these projects, first of all, Tamara Johnston, Georgetown Divide Fire Safe Council, that's the hat I'm wearing right now. We're concerned about the maintenance of the projects. Like we spend all this time and effort and money, and then vegetation grows back. So one of the things that a volunteer in our Fire Safe Council has offered to do is to pull together a packet for landowners that we give to them after a fuel reduction project has been done on their property, to help them and encourage them to continue to maintain it on their own property. So I don't know if that's something we can coordinate with the Outreach and Education Committee too. And I think Tanya's helping with that as well. But I just want to put that out there. It's a project we're working on. It won't happen tomorrow, but it's in the works. And so if anybody has resources that you've kind of put together, I would love it sent my way too.
Yeah, Mike Connolly with the Auburn Lake Trails Fire Safe Council. In June, we started our defensible space evaluation, and we were able to evaluate all 1,146 properties in the development, and almost 90% of them passed. So that was a good record this year. And we're doing another green waste disposal day this Saturday. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. And online, we have Gold Ridge.
Sorry, I'm having clicking issues. This is Sherry Goldridge, Forest Fire Safe Council. I wanted to give a big shout out to all the agencies that have approved a logo for 3x6 banners we'll be putting up. That's all about promoting to the community to that 100-foot defensible space is their responsibility, and also asking them to work on their roadsides. We've sent the banner out to El Dorado County Fire Safe Council, El Dorado County Fire, OWAPR, CAL FIRE. They all appreciated the banner, and we have ordered and look forward to getting those up. 2 of those will be on Sly Park Road, and then 1 within Gold Ridge. And then we hope to expand that next year to go further out into Pollock Pines. We're also going to be doing an initiative with that. We're building an e-blast and some Facebook posts all around defensible space, and that it's your responsibility. Yours, mine, everyone's. So that's what we're doing right now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry. Any others? You. Oh, yeah, you.
Okay, finish this up. Normally I don't give Hugh Council, Texas Hill. Normally I don't give much of a report, but we had a fire, so probably ought to give a report, right? Actually, as a result of the fire we had out there, the Pay Fire, we did do a survey. We sent a survey out to all of our folks, asking them for their responses regarding their reactions to how things went through the evacuation, looking at perimeter rave, did you get them, whatever. So we are tabulating all of that, putting that together. And I've looked at some of it, and some of them had issues with not getting reports. I think that's on their part, because I can tell you I was there and I got everything that I needed. So it's probably not on the sheriff's office side or OES, it's on their side. So we want to look into that. We also had, as a result of that, as Jeff talked about, we had a couple spot fires out in the area, and I haven't gone through and knocked on all the doors since that, but I did look at where some of the spot fires were, and I will tell you that those spot fires were in locations where we did mastication a year ago along roadsides. And I know what that looked like prior to the mastication and what it looked like after. And I'm here to tell you, and I've had a few years experience in the game, that had they not done that, that fire would have took off and would have been up in the trees and gone. And what it ended up, it was just a little spot, probably slow enough burn to allow an engine to get there and put it out. So that attests a little bit to getting roadside work or work done on your properties. The other thing, I've talked to Jeff a little bit, and I want to do, and I think Alice has talked about it for her area too. We're waiting for CAL FIRE to do the after action report, and then come out and we'll have a meeting with all our folks and let them ask questions, find out. We're getting all kinds of questions. What started the fire, all that kind of typical stuff you would get. Also give a report on how well, the evacuation went, not just from the side of the residents, but also from CAL FIRE's perspective and Sheriff's Office perspective. So we'll be doing that. And then, one other thing on that, I just want to mention, anybody that's on Nextdoor, you'll see there's a link, there's a thing there, Texas Hill Estates. You've probably seen that. That's not just Texas Hill Estates. There's stuff in there from Vacaville that people report to that. And the reason I say that is because as a result of fire, we had one person come back and say that some of the members of the board of the Texas Hill Fire Safe Council were telling people not to evacuate. And we didn't. I can tell you nobody on the board even really got on there. So we didn't tell them. So it had to come from somewhere outside. So I say that to caution you in these type of emergencies, when you see stuff on Nextdoor or I wouldn't pay a whole lot of attention to that. I would be really more concerned about what you get from perimeter, what you get, from the SO and those kind of folks. So just as a note on that. And then last of all, on the 27th, we're gonna have a barbecue out at Lions Park. We had planned that ahead of time to just sort of thank people for all the work they've been doing out there. There's been a fair amount of work being done in the area out there, not just by contractors, but also individual homeowners. And during that, I've asked Tom's going to come speak and update everybody on the ordinance and the CWPP. Ken's going to come in. I've asked Ken, he's going to come and talk about the fire risk reduction list and what's going on with that. And then Mark Egbert's going to come talk about Texas Hill, our veg management plan, where we are with that, where we're going with that. It's a big long range plan. So that's what's going on out there. Also, just so you know, and just reminding me about undergrounding. PG&E's been out and they flagged Texas Hill for undergrounding. Now there's flags everywhere, and some of them are right over the top of my water line and stuff like that. So we have to talk about that. But before they start digging, right? But I talked to the guy, and we're a year to maybe even 2 years out on that, but they are already flagging that. So it's in the works to be undergrounded, I guess, out there. So that's all I have for Texas Hill at this point.
I don't know what they're in, if they know what they're in for messing with Texas Hill, but they'll find out. So online we have Jenny from Volcanoville.
Hi guys, my name's Jenny Burton. I am new to the Volcanoville Fire Safe Council. I'm stepping in to help Mary Cornelison. She's kind of taking a back seat, and Patty Smith and myself are going to be stepping in and assisting for the Volcanoville community. So I just wanted to say hi and introduce myself. And then I don't know who I need to give my contact info to. This is my very first meeting. So, Volcanoville community just had our fire safe community meeting this past Saturday. I believe there was about 50 people in attendance. It was recorded, and it was also sent out to the rest of the community so that they can watch it if they weren't able to participate in the meeting this past Saturday.
Thank you, Jenny, and welcome. And so Angel Ball, our secretary, is the person you'll want to connect up with. She'll get the contact information updated. So we'll get you all linked up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, not seeing any other hands raised here in the room or online. A lot of stuff going on. Thank you for that. Public comment, item 12, anything not already covered? Chris, why did I know that was covered?
Ken, this is David Walensky.
Hang on one second. Yeah, who is this?
David. Oh, David Walensky on the phone.
Oh, hi, David. Sorry, you were coming in garbled. Go ahead.
Sorry. Anyway, Paso Fire Safe Council has been expanding its borders, working with OWAPR, and so I think we're filling in some gaps between us and Camino, between us and Mosquito. I think between us and Diamond Springs might be some other gaps we're filling in too, but Richard and Tanya are supervising, and then we'll be expanding our Firewise communities to tie into that. Also, the Resource Advisory Committee of the Forest, we still don't have a quorum. we're sitting on $375,000 or so of funds, and we can't do anything. And the Secretary of Agriculture has not signed the nomination papers for, forms have been sent in, but the United States Secretary of Agriculture has not signed, so we can't get a quorum. And so it's very frustrating. We can't restore meadows and do the work we need to do for fire resilient and other purposes work. So anyone who has an in with the Secretary of Agriculture, United States Secretary of Agriculture, try to get them to get a move on. And a report.
Thank you, David. Okay, so back to open forum, Chris.
It's good to hear David's voice. Just quickly, I did want to report, Greg Stanton is the county person that feeds me information on grants related to biomass and cogeneration. And so he did say that the county is waiting for the USDA Rural Business Development Grant application to be processed, which was submitted a number of months ago. If it's awarded, then there'll be a contract with EcoStrat to conduct a bioeconomy development opportunity zone evaluation of El Dorado County, and then they'll issue the report, and then they'll rate these the zone AA, BBB as to its future investor development assurance, and that we're a good place to invest. So that's the big thing that they're waiting on, and hopefully we'll get to know about that. I did also want to report, because I'm still short of my 3 minutes. I also wanted to report that for those of you who know Karen Pullen and know she's Mosquito area, that project is 55%. That bridge is 55% completed as of the report that I just read. If you want to see more details and pictures, go to the County Department of Transportation website and pick up Mosquito Bridge. The piers, the abutments, all the steel and concrete that's going into this thing is massive. And the road for those that live out in that area has been closed for 10 weeks. It's due to open up on August the 2nd if everything goes okay. So everything is Rock Creek into that area, which is our issue. It has to do with fire prevention and making sure that you're accessible for your emergency individuals. The fire station is there, but obviously we've been lucky, and let's just carry that luck forward. Okay, Ken? Thank you very much. That's my 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chris. All right, seeing no other comments? Oh, yep, sorry, Husan.
So just a quick question about the website for Associate Fire Safe Councils. I had tried a couple months ago to update our contact information because I'm the new chairperson, and I entered it all. It looked good, but it didn't take. So
just work directly with Carrie on the existing website. Carrie's working with the current vendor to work on supporting the councils on getting that kind of stuff updated.
okay. So but I know you're responsible for the contact information. Have you been on the website to update our, no, you haven't. Okay. So
how about if we do this? We'll work
Okay.
offline and make sure that all of the contact information that needs to be updated for all the councils is there. We just need to make sure we're very clear that what's published on the website is not personal information or confidential information that you don't want there. So we'll have to go in back and make sure that we've got all the right numbers and not the wrong numbers. Okay. So with that, good of the order. Remember Brown Bag Lunch hosted by Alice and others. That's scheduled for noon, or as soon as she's to the Tamara, Tanya hosting the OWOPR or hosting the CWPP informal workshop here at 1, and our next meeting is right here on August 21st. So you.
Yeah, just, I always have to have something for the good of the order. Sorry about that. No, couple things. One thing I did not mention in any report, because I really wasn't on the agenda as an item, is the number of assessments. Be sure to get that information when you do them. Please get them to Carrie. And so far this year, we've done 1,434 assessments. Obviously, the large bulk of those assessments are done by Sierra Springs and Auburn Lake Trails. But we want to keep doing those, keep at it, and let them know. And then the second thing I wanted to say, if you haven't, just in case you hadn't noticed, this new facility, I thought we'd have plenty of parking. I went out front. I thought, wow, a lot of cars out here, but there are a lot of parking places right in the back too. Goes all the way around. So if ever you come here and you say I can't find a spot, there's plenty behind the building. So that's it.
Are you good now?
I'm not good.
Oh, I know it's nap time. So, all right, great. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next month. Lots of stuff going on. Meeting adjourned.